But we're here to talk about NSNG, no sugars, no grains, 101, because we've had an influx of new folks, but we really, really want the old folks, you old pros out there. I hope you stay tuned and you listen and you feel it in your bones. Have a little primer again. Doesn't hurt to go back to have a 101, right?
Let me tell you how real that is.
Okay.
I just, right before the mics hotted up, as Serena would say, Peter Pardini, who I did my first documentary with, just sent me a message, a text.
Mm-hmm.
And the text here, I'll show you the text on the screen, lest you think I'm making this up.
Okay. You don't have to. I don't think you're making anything up.
It shows a number. You see that number? It says it's under 200 pounds. It's
199.2. I thought it said 1992 because I don't have my glasses on, but there's
it also says that, but it's 199.2. For all the newbies, the brand new Rowebies, you guys don't even know your Rowebies yet, because I'm assuming that the Mike Rowe podcast that I recorded last week is going to come out this week, because the last time I recorded with those guys, it came out the following week. So if it doesn't come out this week, it's coming out next week. So it's coming out soon. And since you guys are going to be looking for me to see what I have to talk about, I figured I'd give you guys a little 101. Most anyone who went to college knows that freshman year, all the courses are called 101, and then 202, 303, as you go up through the years. So this is NSNG, no sugars, no grains, 101. Over the years, Anna and I have done 50, 30, 40. How many 101s?
A lot of 101s.
Yeah.
We like to circle back and cover the basics. Because that's how it works. That's how NSNG is effective, is if you go back to basics.
And that's why Peter Pardini comes to mind. Here's a guy that knows the information better than anyone. The guy did my first documentary with me. He spent more time editing a documentary than, he knows everything. He knows my thoughts before I do. And look, he's a new father now.
That's right.
Dad bod can jump in there, right? You're up all hours of the night taking care of a kid. And he noticed that a few things slipped over the past years. He's been busy editing, other documentaries and everything. And he wrote to me a few months ago, and he goes, I need to get it back together. I have a new baby on the way. I'm not going to let this, be another reason to gain more weight. I want to get under 200 pounds. And 5 minutes ago, I got that thing. So, and by the way, Peter's not better than you, me, or anyone else. I had to do a consult with him. Right?
Right.
Take people.
Strong recommend on your consult. Strong recommend. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. What's her name? Megan Hawks. She runs the Facebook group. You would think she knows everything there is to know, right? We do a consult. We just did another one.
She would be at the 401 level, if not graduate level.
Yeah.
NSNG.
Well, look, I was on April 1st. I was driving up to go do my last day of work on my kayak, and I had a conversation with Megan and Susie DeMeester, right? The White Kim. And we, look, these are women who know what to do. They've been doing it, but they do a look, they'll get together and do a consult.
Right.
We're human. And
you need coaches.
Right. So
do you think Olympic athletes are out there winning the Olympics and nobody coaches them because they're the best in the world? They don't need a coach?
Let me give you the best, the greatest thought on this ever.
Give me
the late great Neil Peart. Do you know who Neil Peart is?
I don't.
Neil Peart is considered one of the, by many, if not the best rock and roll drummer ever to live, top 3.
Okay.
We're talking Keith Moon. We're talking Bonzo. We're talking that level of drumming. Neil Peart is in that conversation.
Okay.
Nobody is debating that. If you say he's top 5, you're crazy. He's top 3. I put him look, I have a dog named Bonzo, so you know how I feel about John Bonham.
Right.
Neil Peart is beyond. Rush. He was the band Rush.
Okay.
Neil Peart still took drumming lessons until the day he died.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being the teacher that Neil Peart goes to when you're considered a legend, a living legend, and Neil Peart shows up for a drumming lesson? But that's what the best do.
I still get voiceover coaching. I find it very important.
Yeah.
You got to freshen up.
There is no level that you get to where you're too good for the room. And look, I do all kinds of lessons that I continue to do for different things. Learning to act like a human, for one. You know, I just do these things. I take lessons.
You mean therapy?
No, I've never been to therapy. It wouldn't work.
They would try really hard, though.
Yeah, they would just go, okay.
They'd be like, you know what? We're going to release you to the hounds.
It would be like the scene in Good Will Hunting where every therapist is like, nah.
Yeah, exactly.
We're good. Moving on. I'm not suggesting I'm a genius, guys. I'm just saying that.
I think that's what you're suggesting.
By the way, I wrote a tweet last night about that. I had forgotten that my podcast girlfriend was in that movie. Your good friend.
Minnie? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She was nominated for an Oscar, right? For that movie?
No, I thought she was nominated for an Oscar in like Big Night or one of those.
I think she was nominated for Good Will Hunting.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, she was good in it. And by the way,
great.
I have to break up with my other online girlfriend, Leona.
Who's that?
Leona. Lois. See, I even used the correct name.
Yeah. You always use the correct name when you're breaking up with them because you want to make sure they know it's them.
Yeah. I met her husband. I like the guy. It's like, now it's weird. You know?
Yeah.
I'd rather hang out with her.
No, it was always weird. You made it weird from day one.
No,
in defense of everyone you've made feel weird over the years.
Yeah. I made her feel the weirdest.
Yeah.
No, but I met, like, we hung out at dinner and the whole thing. And now I'm like sitting there going,
I can't make girlfriend jokes.
I can't talk about me and Leona next to the dumpster. It's just,
yeah.
I'm sitting at dinner with these people going, God, I'm the worst human being on the planet. And this guy is really
Vinnie does have a conscience.
I do. All right. So enough about that.
Okay. 101.
We're going to do a quick ad because we're
okay.
contract. We have to, and then we're getting right into the 101. Villa Capelli olive oil. Anna, I will say this as part of the ad. People have been asking me, is Partana olive oil real? Now,
I don't know. I don't know the words you just said.
Okay. Partana is an olive oil company.
Is it a brand?
It's a brand. And everybody wants to know if it's real. I don't know. We need to find out.
What is it? What's the context?
Well, the context is that's the brand that they're using over at Starbucks in their olive oil infused coffee. And people
that's giving people disaster pants, though, right?
Oh, is it?
That's what I heard. Didn't Cotty Cod send us something about that?
Maybe. I don't know. But all I know is olive oil can be cut up to 40% and still be called 100% pure olive oil. We know that. And Partana is what Starbucks is using. And to get things at a price, I can't imagine. Look, it might be 100% pure. I don't know. I'm not going to speak out.
It could just be old rancid oil, or it could be flabby oil. We don't know that it's cut. We don't know
what it is.
Right.
Who knows what it is? But what we do know is that Villa Capelli is 100% pure. You can taste it.
Extra virgin, first press.
Oh my God.
So I don't understand. Why wouldn't you just get a cup of coffee and whip your own Villa Capelli olive oil into it? Why do you have to do, which by the way, which would be great in a NutriBullet. I don't think the immersion blender would be strong enough. That little Zule, that has a little whisk at the end. Yeah. I don't think that'd be strong enough. I think you want to do it in NutriBullet or a Vitamix.
Well, I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to be trying it with Villa Capelli.
Okay, great.
To do a video for my videos. I'm going to be doing that very soon, just to see what this olive oil coffee is all about.
Well, we're going to be covering oils and fats. So I'm glad you're just starting with Villicapelli olive oil. They're a sponsor of this podcast, but I have been to the property and been going there since 2011. And I've seen them, press and centrifuge the oil since day one. It's fantastic oil. It tastes, if you've only been having these grocery store major market brands, and then you switch to Villicapelli, which I highly recommend that you do, your taste buds will come alive. You'll be like, oh, that's what it's supposed to taste like. And everybody says that. And it's so fun to have that big reveal with everybody over the years. And by the way, it's going to be back in stock. It's in customs right now. It's going to be back in stock in the next 10 to 20 days. So here's what you need to do, you guys. Go to villicapelli.com. Click on the oil. I prefer the 3-liter tins. I order the 3-liter tins 2 at a time. But whatever oil you want to order that says sold out, make sure you put your email address in the slot and hit submit. That's the way to know immediately. Because by the way, and because I do this with my sauces too, once you put that stock back up, so let's say he puts 500 3-liter tins back up, you're going to get an instant email. Boom. That's your chance. Go get the oil. Trust me, when this thing drops, get it.
Yeah, we sell these people out in the United States right away every time. So this is the sole place where they advertise. And
yes, and let me tell you something. There are some like Villicapelli-esque companies on Amazon selling some fake oils. Do not, Villicapelli does not sell on Amazon. No. Okay. They only sell directly on their own website at villicapelli.com. So I want to kind of protect their brand integrity there, because I think there was some confusion in the group. Somebody ordered something from Amazon and thought it was Villicapelli.
Yeah, no. And put in promo code Vinnie, not into the email, but when you actually make your order, put in promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, no wimpy Y, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Villicapelli, we use it here. I drink it straight. I do too. I have a little shot glass, and sometimes even twice a day when I'm walking through the kitchen, I'll just fill my little shot glass and
do you put a little salt in it too? I like to put the Maldon
I do.
Salt.
I keep my Maldon salt right there. It makes it taste like a caprese salad.
And by the way, when people ask what kind of snacks do you have on NSNG, you're going to get to a point where you're not snacking that much. But if I ever do want a snack, I will take a half an avocado and sprinkle the Maldon salt and then drizzle it with Villicapelli olive oil. It's so good.
Serena had 2 or 3 cheeses sitting out. And we sweat cheese during the day. It's just up there sweating and pass by it. I was doing a lot of yard work today, and I came in to, like an Italian does, to get an espresso. And I'm making, I'm pressing an espresso in between yard work. I see the cheeses out there. I lop off 2 or 3, slivers. And I hit it with the Maldon salt. People go, you put salt on cheese? It's like, yeah, shut up, go try it. I hit it with the Maldon salt, and I do the Zorro. Yeah. I call it the Zorro with the Villicapelli. I just hit like a big Z over it. And you got the salt, the cheese, the Villicapelli. Folks, go check it out. Especially if you're new to this, you'll see what we're talking about. Speaking of which, 101. Now, what is NSNG? It's exactly what it says. N, no sugar. NS, no sugars. NG, no grains. Why? How's it different from paleo? Well, paleo is everything that was eaten during the Paleolithic era. Is NSNG
debatable, but okay.
Paleo the same? There's a lot of similarities. Can you do one within the other? Absolutely. How does NSNG work compared to Atkins? Identical. Ketogenic diets, identical. Keto, identical.
Can I send some clarification here?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to do a lot of clarification.
Okay. Go on. Right now, when you say Atkins, I think of those Atkins bars that you can buy at the store. So not identical.
You've now gotten 5 steps ahead of me.
Okay, go ahead.
So why do I say identical? If you look at what Dr. Atkins was writing and talking about in the 1970s, that's what I'm talking about here. So Vinnie, why did you come up with your own thing? Well, during the Great Depression, after 2008, I had just gotten done with cancer, and I started eating low carb all the time because I had heard some stuff. It wasn't being talked about back then. Let me go back a little further.
I was going to say, you're like, I just got done with cancer.
Yeah.
which you had a type of cancer that you're not done with.
Yeah. Let me go back. The way I made my bones in Hollywood was I would get clients to eat low sugar, low grains, very low, ketogenic style diets back in the 90s and 2000s. And that's how I got celebrities lean and fit and everything else. I followed my own advice to a degree, but I was a cyclist that did ultra racing. And whenever I was on a bike, I ate sugar like a kid at a birthday party because there was no other foods you can have. You're on a bike, so banana works, goo and, power bars and Cliff bars and everything else. Sustained energy from, Hammer Nutrition, whatever I can get, right? Because if you're on a bike for 12, 15 hours on a Saturday, you don't have much of an opportunity. So whenever I was on a bike, I would eat like a kid in a candy store. But then when I got off the bike, I would eat steak and cheese. And
did you ever have intestinal distress from all that sugar? Or did you just have a strong stomach?
No, in training, if the training was less than 12 hours, no stomach distress. Once I got past 12 hours in training and or a race, usually around the 15-hour mark, my stomach couldn't handle it anymore. That happens to most people.
Yeah, you just had sugar overload and your tummy's like,
yeah, the second part of any ultra is mostly people throwing up over the handlebars, and who can, cope with that the best wins the race.
Jesus.
So I was in that crazy sport. So whenever I was on a bike, I would eat whatever junk. And by the way, I would bring stuff with me like olives, sausage. Like if I had sausage the night before, I would put it, in Ziploc bags and have it with me on the bike and stuff like that. So I was trying to eat stuff in practice. During the race, my crew would stop at gas stations and buy gas station burritos or anything else they could find. You're kind of like that car in Back to the Future. You just put garbage in it and you try to keep going, because the only way you can keep sustaining life out there on the road in a race is like that. So I was of two minds whenever I was on the bike. And by the way, the inflammation I would get was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I bet.
We always thought the inflammation came from, the day after a race, your calves and your ankles and everything would swell up like you had elephantitis. And we always thought, it's because I rode a bike for 33 hours or 38 hours or 40 hours. We never thought it was from all the crap we were eating, right?
Right. Interesting.
So for anyone who cares, in 2007, and I wrote a whole book about this, Fitness Confidential, if you want to go check that out. It's a best-selling book. I talked about my cancer. And I had leukemia, and I beat leukemia. I don't know how, but I'm still here.
You had one of the rarer forms of it as well, one of the more pernicious forms.
Yeah.
So the fact that you beat it was a big deal.
Yeah. Well, our friend Gina Grad, her dad, who was in phenomenal shape, ran 10 miles a day, literally 10 miles a day. Same cancer, dead within 8 months.
Yeah.
And then when they knocked it into remission, they told me about every 5 years, it would rear its ugly head.
Mm.
And, but they said, we'll catch it early enough to where you don't have to take the amount of chemo you took. We can knock it back into a state of being almost dead. But every 5 years for the rest of your life, you're going to be on chemo.
Right.
And in 2007, I said to my doctor, Dr. Miller, I said, all of my friends in Hollywood are telling me, hey, man, you need to go on a vegan diet. I heard that a lot. You need to juice every day. You need to drink juice like there's no tomorrow.
Raw foods.
Raw food, raw food juicing and all this stuff. Get off of red meat, all the stuff I've always told people to do. All my clients. And then I'm talking to people. It's like, oh, no, you don't understand. You need, and I'm not making this number up, you need 8 to 12 ounces of wheatgrass per day. And I'm going, okay, wheatgrass in LA is about $1 an ounce. So you're telling me I need $12 worth of wheatgrass per day. That's problem number one. You would have to start growing the wheatgrass yourself, which a lot of people would do in that situation.
Right.
So it's like, okay.
Because you have to grow a lot to harvest a tiny little amount.
Yeah, just to get an ounce.
Yeah.
That's why it's like $1 an ounce. The other thing is, I had tried wheatgrass a few times in the interest of trying something new. And even when you drink an ounce of grass clippings, of lawn clippings, which is what you're drinking, you burp it for the next, God, I can't tell you how many hours.
Oh, they'll tell you it can make you vomit too.
Oh,
So I was like, that's good for you?
One time I had 2 ounces. I think I was with Alexandra Paul and one of my vegan friends. I was trying to show off because she had 2 ounces. And I was nauseous for the next hour. Like I kept going, I'm going to throw up. And then
they like to tell you it's because it's detoxing. I'm like, no, it's the thing I just drank.
Listen, that stuff made me want to barf forever. And here's the thing. If you don't barf for the next 5 or 6 hours, you're burping it like you just drank it. It's
right.
It's your stomach does not want to digest this stuff. So, and now you're telling me 8 to 12 ounces a day? No, that's not going to happen. So I'm talking to Dr. Miller, who had become a friend of mine over the whole thing. And I said, Doc, where's the truth with this micro this, macro that, eat wheatgrass, and she goes, because my doctor wasn't just any kind of hematologist. She did a lot of research. And she didn't really take on patients. I was lucky to get her through a friend of a friend because I knew people in high places in Hollywood. And so she took me on as a friend. And she goes, hey, you're that no sugars, no grains guy, right? That's how you were telling me that's how you get your clients. I said, yeah. She goes, yeah, do that. I said, well, come again? She goes, do that. And I said, do what? She goes, no sugars, no grains. That's your thing, right? You tell people to stay off of carbohydrates? I went, yeah. She goes, yeah, there's a lot of research. She goes, you're not going to hear about it for the next 10 years, which she was right about. Yeah. She was at the forefront of this in 2007. And she said, do that because the cancer you have is a closed cell. It doesn't feed on oxygen. It feeds on sugar. And they're seeing that more and more. Most cancer cells feed on sugars, tumors, this and that, and the whole thing. I said, really? And so I wanted to finish this race, and we talk about it in the book, Fitness Confidential. We talk about that next season where I went strict in NSNG unless I was on the bike. And I was always trying to figure out ways. I was bringing peanut butter and almond butter on the bike. I was figuring out ways to bring coconut oil on the bike.
Right.
Turns out Trader Joe's had these little packets of coconut oil. I would have those, and it was like, how many of these can I have before I get the shits? Right. And I was just always working out that math.
Let's push it to the limit.
As a matter of fact, that's how I started my company, NSNG Foods. I started mixing coconut oil with nut butter because then you can have more of it, and it wasn't disturbing my stomach. And I was playing with, and how can I make it taste better? And I would like grind some natural vanilla in there. It's like, that's how look, folks, I'm not a genius. I started using this stuff. So it's like, I can eat a lot less sugar by eating more fat and protein on the bike. That was the beginning of me messing around with that kind of stuff.
Which, and by the way, NSNG is a very whole foods way of eating. So that is a question we get a lot, is how can we make things portable? Because if you're traveling, you're on the road, you're going to meetings, you're going on an airplane. So we talk about that in other episodes, but I just want to throw that out there, that's where it was born out of necessity.
Right. And folks, I started a company called NSNG Foods, and the product there is called Ultra Fat. And it's a low packet of food that, I made it for athletes, but moms give it to kids.
I eat it.
School. Anna eats it. Everyone eats it. The company is huge now. We started during the pandemic, and we largely had trouble keeping up for the first year. So yeah, mom puts it in lunch boxes, people take it to work and everything else. And it's a great snack. And it's not just what we thought it was going to be used for. It's used for everything.
Right.
And so that's the way, that year I did have some sugar on the bike. And then after that, I wonder if I could just do this all the time and not have any sugar. And I started figuring out more and more ways. So yes, you can be athletic and do this. And if you're new to this, go back a couple of Fridays. Dr. Tim Noakes We always thought that people past 80% of their aerobic capacity needed to take in sugar. Dr. Tim Noakes got athletes up to 86% of their aerobic capacity and still had them burning nothing but fat. This can work. Go back 2 or 3 episodes.
Gasp. Are you saying zone 3 could be fat burning?
Not could be. It's been proven now that it is.
Well, so then we don't need to stress out if we bump up. I'm just saying another episode.
No, it's a whole different episode. But when we talk about, where you are, where you want to burn the most fat and not catabolize any of your sugar, you can do it in zone 3. But you have to be well trained.
I'm adding this to our list of when we talk about it.
Please, please, please. All right. So
NSNG means no sugars, no grains. You were talking about, is it alike to Atkins or paleo? Paleo, of course, they let you have a lot more sweet potato, butternut squash, the higher carbohydrate tubers, honey. What's the other one that they have a lot of? They do some artificial sweeteners, which I'm like, I don't think our cavemen ate allulose, but okay.
Yeah.
Keto, by the way, identical to real keto, not dirty keto.
I just sent a thing to Megan today. I don't think we put it up yet, but I did a thing on allulose, and how we get away with it. It has to do with the Koreans sent it here. And since it's metabolized a little differently than other sugars, they don't even have to list it as a sugar in labels. But guess what? It causes a spike. I don't care what anyone says.
It does. It all causes a spike. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
So unlike eating Atkins bars and keto this, because you could put keto certified on anything, this is just eating real foods all the time. All you're doing is eating real foods. So what are the real foods? You have
hold on. Don't list stuff. We're going to go through by food groups.
Okay, go.
Let's start with fats, because we talked about Villa Capelli olive oil. Besides olive oil, what are the acceptable fats to eat on NSNG?
You have olive oil. You have coconut oil. You have, if you can find pure avocado oil, those 3 are great. Butter is great to cook with. Lard, which is great to cook with. That's rendered pig fat. And tallow, which is rendered beef fat. Did I leave any out, Anna?
Save your bacon grease when you make bacon. You can fry your eggs in it. My grandmother used to just keep it in the extra Campbell soup can on the side of the stove. Ghee, if you need to have clarified butter, you can have ghee, because sometimes people have allergies to the proteins in milk, or they're lactose intolerant, but they can tolerate ghee. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay. Well, then since we were talking about butter and dairy, let's talk about full fat dairy. What sort of dairy are you allowed to have on NSNG? Are you supposed to be eating low fat yogurt or low fat sour cream or low fat cottage cheese?
No, you want to have the highest fat. Now, here in the good old United States, we think 5% milk fat is high. If you can find a yogurt with 5% milk fat, great. There's a few smaller dairies around the country that might be in your area. They'll have upwards of 9% milk fat. These are the higher the content of milk fat, the less lactose you're going to have and the better product you have. So that's what you want. You want the highest milk fat you can get.
So I've noticed that even within heavy creams and heavy whipping creams, there are different viscosities, meaning they're withdrawing some fat and add. So I like the Horizon brand, that has the red and white, and I've seen those in many different grocery stores around the nation, but not everybody's going to have them. But it's going to be trial and error too. But if it says heavy cream and you open it and it has the consistency of whole milk or half and half, it probably has some fat withdrawn. You want the heaviest cream possible. You want the fat.
If you go to Europe, they'll have single cream and double cream. The double cream is like axle grease when it's pouring out.
Love it. It's like blub, 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 blub.
Yeah. The way they thicken, since you brought it up, they use 2 or 3. They'll use gum and they'll use carrageenan. Some people think they're pretty benign things. It's in a lot of our cream here.
Yeah, check your labels, because if you think it's just heavy cream and there's no guar gum, I call it guar gum. I don't know it's pronounced gur gum.
I call it guar gum too. And carrageenan is the other one. And they use a third thing, but you don't see it very often. But there'll be like some mono something, blah, 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 not monosodium glutamate, but some other kind of mono. You might have to go to a higher end grocery store. I get it. It's expensive, but you only have one life. There's some things Whole Foods might carry it. If you have like a Wegmans or some of these bigger stores that have sections, the hoity-toity sections, usually the good cream will come in glass bottles.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes.
There's still some good cream that comes in the cardboard.
Right, but you have to look around. You have to look around and see what they have. Once you find a place that has real cream, get that, spend the money on it. It's worth it.
Absolutely.
Trust me on that.
So high fat yogurt, high fat. What about cottage cheese?
You want to get the highest fat cottage cheese.
Okay, but cottage cheese is okay.
Not low fat, not skim, none of that. But you want, and by the way, here's the deal. When it comes to dairy, and I'm including cheese in there and everything else. First off, you don't have to sit around and drink milk. After your second birthday, you don't need mother's milk of any sort anymore, but you can use some of the other dairy products as like a fast food, the cottage cheese, the yogurt, the kefir.
Just don't overdo it. Trust me.
Just don't overdo it, because some people, like if you're 100 pounds overweight, they'll lose 40, 50 pounds just like that. And they'll go, man, I was eating cheese and everything else. And then it stopped. Usually once those people contact me and we have a consult, I will get them off of the cheese. They'll go down another 50, 60, 70 pounds to get to the weight. And if you'll say to me, why does that happen? It's like, I don't know. Half the people can eat cheese and get away with it. The other half can't.
I have something.
It is what it is.
You can get blood tested if you're really inclined. If this happens to you, if you're listening and that's you're like, oh, that was me. I was eating cheese and all the things. And then I stopped, I plateaued, and I still have 40, 50 pounds to lose. You could have inflammation being caused by the dairy. And what happens is when you have so much weight to lose, your body's like able to get rid of it to a certain point. But then when you're inflamed, it stops. And it's not, you know what I mean? You have to stop putting the things in your body at that point. And that's fine. Right. And listen, sometimes I've noticed it, because this has happened with me, but it's all definitely happened to other people too, where sometimes the giving up the dairy down the road is a bigger temper tantrum than cutting out the sugars and the grains, because the dairy is so wonderful. It's such a nice indulgence. Look, but you can't abuse it. I'm sorry, you can't.
I get this in the consults all the time. People go, I've given up so much. It's like, look.
That's it.
That's
exactly what people say.
I get it. But here's the deal. You have one life. Are you interested in getting the most out of that life and not ending up with diseases and heart disease and, cancer and everything else, metabolic syndrome, which, getting featured. Look, people are arguing with me. I've given up everything. It's like, look, you have neuropathy. You want to have your fucking feet chopped off? That's what I'm dealing with.
Right.
Like, why are you arguing with me? My feet are intact. I'm trying to help you. Right?
Well, I agree with that. And the temper tantrum is real. And I know when I get those really angry emails from people, I always reply to emails unless you're just a complete asshole. And the reason why is because I want you to know that you're heard and I get it. But it's not about me and what I wrote in my cookbooks. It's about you making peace with the choices that you have to make. And if you're here and you stick around, you're going to be making some choices that maybe the old you would have said, that's crazy. I can't believe you're doing this. But I will say right now, doing an extended carnivore experiment with myself, I have noticed the number of times where if you're doing carnivore, you're basic or whatever, or it could be beginning NSNG for you, you're choosing to delay your gratification for a long-term benefit. And that's going to be mind-blowing if you've never done that before.
Yeah.
It's going to be really tricky. So, okay, that's great about dairy. So let's go on to meats, because meats are the heart of this diet. And yes, if you're a vegetarian, you can still do it. But we're going to talk about meats for a second. We can address, we actually talk about vegetarianism a lot and what people should eat if they're going to do NSNG vegetarian. But let's talk about meats. Fatty meats.
I'm going to start with the best meats, and I'm going to work down to the lesser meats.
Okay.
Of course, any kind of beef steak, just any kind of beef is going to be good. Organs are good to eat. I'm just not into them myself. I hate tongue. I don't like liver, this sort of thing.
Lucy took me to a place and then was upset because they served a lot of organ meats, and she was upset that I didn't want to get the lung and the liver and the heart. And I was like, I'm good. Can I just get the veal?
Yeah. Look, I'm the same way. So, but any kind of beef, pork, lamb, if you're
bison.
someone who loves to hunt, or
Oh yeah,
or anything from ruminants like deer and moose and bison and the whole thing, all the way to birds, waterfowl, all of it. It's all good. Meats are all good. Now,
get the highest cut fat. Highest fat.
The fatty. Look, we've all heard about Wagyu, right? Wagyu beef. Oh my God, why? Because it's all marbled up with fat. That's why it's so good, right? It's just this incredible tasting
salted fat is what we're all after. Let's be honest.
So yeah, absolutely. And then the next thing you're going to say was, Vinnie, I'm not a Rockefeller. In case you're young, the Rockefellers were a rich family back during the Industrial Revolution.
See, Rockefellers.
And they talk like this, and they
and wore monocles.
And yes, and because
and made 7-year-olds work at the factory.
Yes, because they had small hands and they can work fast. Anyway, I get it. Meat is expensive, but it doesn't have to be. You could get good quality ground beef, and I eat a lot of ground beef because meat is just, we're empty nesters and we do okay financially. Meat is still very expensive. I get it.
Yeah.
But you can do a lot of ground beef. You can make up a lot of ground with ground beef. And you can get really good stuff. And people go, where did you get it? We deal, there's Wegmans, there's Harris Teeter, there's Whole Foods, and then there's a couple of meat markets. We know where every sale is going to be throughout the week.
Right.
You go, wait, Whole Foods? Yes, sometimes you get the best deal at Whole Foods. Sometimes the best deal is at Harris Teeter. Sometimes the best deal is at Wegmans. Sometimes
you're going to spend some time shopping around. But guess what? You're not going to be worried about the sales on Coca-Colas and chips no more. You're going to be looking at the sales on beef, the sales on dairy.
Yeah.
And
when you see what you're getting for just a low price, you'll go, why didn't I know this? Because we want to think that meat is just always so expensive and that we can't feed our family this. My parents were school teachers and fed 4 kids. We had meat constantly, and a lot of it was ground beef, and really
a lot of ground beef. I mean, I must have 1 million burger, meatball, and meatloaf recipes alone on my website and in my books, just because that just is the most accessible thing that's going to get you filled up, and it's fast to cook as well. You can brown a pound of ground beef and throw taco seasoning on it and make taco bowls, and you're done in 10 minutes. Good. Yeah. Done. Let's do it. So that's great. That's
wait, I want to continue with meat.
Yep.
Sausage. Now you're moving on to a different level. Most of is ground up pork, and you have sometimes beef in there and whatever you have.
And flavoring and seasoning. So you've got to read the labels on sausage.
So, and when you mentioned label, I like buying the stuff they make at the butcher, right? If
they're filling the casing themselves.
Yeah, they're filling it there. They're doing it themselves. You're going to get a better cut. When you start messing around with name brands like Oscar Mayer, Jimmy Dean, Boar's Head, and what have you, now you're getting, stuff. They have to have more shelf-stable stuff that's going to spend time in transition and sitting around. There's going to be more dextrose and everything else thrown in it. So you want to stay at the higher level. And that goes for, when people buy, they go, well, I get the little package of Columbus, it's a little tray of cheese.
Salami. Yeah.
And I get the Boar's Head, and they have the thing, and I get the this and that. That's never going to be your best form of eating meat. If you're stuck and you have to do that for one day, that's one thing. But when it becomes a thing and you turn this into meals, that's not what it's there for. This stuff is meant for you. You have nowhere else to go. And since we're on to meat, I'm going to add in, I mentioned poultry, also very good.
Hold on, let me go back to salami and really drive this point home.
Yeah.
If you're finding yourself buying a package of salami every other day, you're not doing NSNG right. You should not be eating that much salami. And it's not because of the whole news about the nitrates or the thing. It's just that it doesn't have enough to fill you up. You need to be eating regular muscle meat that you're cooking. The steak, the ground beef, the pork chop, the pork tenderloin. Now you're going to talk about poultry. I would like you to talk about poultry, fish, and eggs, please.
That's where I was heading next. Poultry, very good for you. The nutrients are not up there with red meat or pork, but it's pretty close.
And you would say chicken thighs over chicken breast, right?
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
had
yeah,
to
yeah,
choose,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
cheaper
because
and it's
yeah,
fattier.
it's cheaper, fattier, and it's a different kind of muscle. We had the great doctor, can't remember his name, but he's been on twice. He talks about chickens, eggs, the whole thing. He came on to talk about the avian flu, and he talks about why part of the chicken is red, kind of red meat, and the other part is white meat, like the breast. But he said all of it is equally nutritious. But try to get some of that ligament and all the crunchy stuff in there. One of the best, most portable foods in the world. I was once asked while I was on the Adam and Dr. Drew show by Adam Carolla, if you had to pick one food, you're on a deserted island, you're going to be there for a month, and you had to subsist on one food, what would it be? And without hesitation, I said the chicken egg. He turned to Drew, and Drew says, I agree. Why? Because every amino acid that man has ever discovered, I mean, a chicken egg is an embryo. Everything to make a chicken is in that embryo. And you're putting this into your body. It's one of the healthiest things you can eat. Some of the vegan sites, Michael Greger's site, and some of these talk about if you eat even a half of one egg per week, your heart's going to explode. Hogwash. These are propaganda sites.
So, Vinnie, you must be a ghost who's podcasting after your death, because you would be long since dead.
Oh, I know I've had a half dozen eggs today.
I'm not saying that I don't like eggs, but I do. But if I was on the deserted island, is there a possibility that a helicopter would drop off a freshly cooked ribeye steak? Because that's what I would want.
That's another.
I know an egg probably has more nutrients, but I just love it.
Look, I mean, if people are going to ask me about carnivore and if that's doable, absolutely. I've seen people, people with, lupus and, Parkinson's. Well, you don't ever get rid of Parkinson's, but they've stopped their tremors and everything else and reversed type 2 diabetes, reversed. People with all kinds of chronic problems have cut everything else out except beef. They do the carnivore diet, and I've seen that work excellently. The biggest problem people have is it's one food, sure. And so
it is hard, but that's what I'm saying about the idea of I'm choosing to eat this one food and delaying my gratification in order to have the long-term benefit of my health. Oh, and absolutely. If you're not ready to make that choice, it might come up for you. I'm just saying it's come up for a lot of folks. Fish.
Fish, excellent EPA, DHA, a lot of good muscle meat there. It's lean protein. One of the Vinnieisms that my clients would always say back in Hollywood was they would repeat what I was saying. I would say, only eat fish if you're absolutely serious about losing weight. Otherwise, don't eat it. I don't know why, but fish, if you just ate fish and eggs every day, you, without even working out, you look like you become ripped. Is
that because it just calorically, like calorie for calorie, there's just fewer calories in fish?
It's got good, the oils in the fish, are perfect. It's just perfect for human consumption. I mean, look, we came from water. Our DNA, we started there, right? For some reason, fish just works.
Well, let me ask you this. So we don't set everybody off on the task of just making fish and eggs for the next 30 days.
I'm not saying doing that.
Please eat a variety of foods whenever possible. But you are right. I mean, it seems to be fish. It comes back to that. But even in bringing up calories, before we get to, because I think we covered meats, we're going to get to vegetables, leafies, and cruciferous next. But can you cover, do you want people to count their calories or their macros or their portions while they're figuring out their grocery lists and their meal plans?
I tell everyone when you first start doing this, overconsume on the right things, because
eat too much.
Eat too much. And here's why. Whenever you start doing this, if you start counting calories, look, counting calories has never worked. Counting and measuring food and eating the size of the palm of your hand and all this shit, it's never worked. Look, I've been in this industry for 40 something years.
People will argue with that.
I know they will.
And if you come at it from diet mentality, people are not going to believe you. So that's why we're bringing it up right now.
Right. That's why I'm talking about it. I don't shy away from any subject. when it comes to diet and exercise. I don't know anything about anything in life except this. When you do one thing your entire life, you see it all, and you start figuring out a few things. Counting and calorie out and CECO and the whole thing, it just doesn't work long term. Sorry. And if it did, you wouldn't be finding me for this podcast right now, right? You would have fixed everything.
You would go do your calorie in, calorie out for 2 weeks, and then you dial it in, and then you would just lose the weight. Then you would assume your permanent form, and then you would never have to think about it again.
Right. And
that's how we wish the world worked.
Lost, that doesn't happen. So
right.
I tell people at first, don't worry about what, just you kind of feel like you're on a tightrope without a net. So it's okay if you overconsume at first while your body's trying to figure out what's going on. And you'll lose some weight doing that, right? Because you'll start losing water weight and everything else. But then after, 15, 20, 30 days, start cutting back. Some people say, well, I was eating, and I talk to people in consults all the time. I'm having 6 eggs in the morning because that's what you do then. Okay. But now you might be consuming too much. I work out like a crazy man.
Right.
Because it's my job. Right. Hell, I worked out this morning for a couple of hours.
But you also like it. That's okay. It doesn't have to be your job.
And then I pushed my whole yard with a lawnmower.
Right.
And did some other work for another 2 or 3 hours. I'm burning a shit ton of calories. I need more. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to waste away. So that's why. Did that make sense there?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's good for one might not be good for the other. So you do have to do a little bit of self-experimentation. But the good thing is you don't have to spend your time with a logbook logging macros or calories or portions or weighing your food, which by the way, we'll still get tweets saying, but it works for me. I like doing it. Great. Have at it. You're an adult. You get to pick what you want to do. If you want to cherry pick what works for you, great. But I will say, as somebody coming from diet mentality, having disordered eating, the biggest gift of NSNG is not having to count. Use your time and your gifts for something else.
Let me put it to you a different way. I just looked down at my watch, and it's only 6 o'clock. Today alone, I already have over 25,000 steps. Now, everyone brags they get to 10,000. I'm at 25,000. And this watch wasn't even on me when I was at the gym pumping iron.
Right.
Okay. And, on and on and on. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. Not everyone gets to do what I do. This is my job. I'm always moving. So you have to take that with a grain of salt.
Okay. So should we talk about veggies?
Why not?
Let's do it.
Okay. Make no mistakes. Veggies are carbohydrates. So why are we having them?
Aren't we carb phobic?
No, I'm not carb phobic at all.
Oh, okay.
Caesar, don't fear the reaper. Carbs.
Is the reaper ahead of broccoli in this scenario?
Listen, the best carbs, you want to get the ones that are going to cause you to have some, nitrogen buildup, when it decays in your system, nitrogen buildup. That's where you get the nitric acids and all this kind of stuff, right? Nitrates and nitrites. The best form to do that with are cruciferous vegetables, and the ones that are easily found and the cheapest ones in the store, broccoli, cauliflower. I'm going to get back to cauliflower in just a second. Brussels sprouts. This is not a cruciferous, but they're pretty good. Asparagus are up there.
I bought some today. Asparagus is in season right now, folks.
I'm not sure why anyone would eat this food, but kale. Now,
kale's a leafy green.
Yeah, but it's a cruciferous, believe it or not. And Anna Vocino, in her first book, I think it's her first book, has a recipe, and they taste like potato chips. You put them in the oven, you put a little olive oil, you get the salt in there, and you put them in the oven, and you
basically dehydrate them.
Yeah, you basically kill them.
Yeah, that's the only way to consume kale.
And they taste like potato chips. The other thing I like to do, I do this.
Put the barbecue dust on there. That'd be really good.
I do this for Sunday football. I put the asparagus on a cookie sheet, and I put some Villa Capelli, and I put more salt than you're supposed to. I get the really thin ones and I put them in the oven. People go, well, how long and what temperature? 350, and I keep my eye on them until they get black.
About 15 minutes will get them dark.
Yeah, I like them like where I kill them.
They're almost like burnt French fries.
Yeah, when I'm watching the games, what I do is I make myself some sausage. I go to JM Stock in town, but I get the good sausage. I make the sausage. I find myself a hot mustard that doesn't have crap in it. Very hard to do.
We're going to talk about condiments in a moment.
Yeah, and I'll have my sausage on Sunday. I'll have my either my kale chips or my asparagus
fries.
Or the other thing I do, and we're going to talk about this later, but I might as well talk about it now. I do roasted nuts. So, look, you could buy mixed nuts in the store. The problem being, it's a bunch
They're already pre-roasted.
They're pre-roasted. They got seed oils and all this kind of stuff. So what I do is I buy raw nuts, and what I get the high-fat nuts, the one that are lower in carbohydrates. I get pecans, I get walnuts, and sometimes I'll get almonds. I'll mix those three together. What I do is I get
raw versions. You get the raw versions.
And I take Villicapelli, and I get Villicapelli on my hands, and I just massage it into the nuts, right? So I have a nice little light coating of Villicapelli on the nuts. And then I take a very fine salt, not the Malden salt because it's too crunchy and thick. I take a fine salt, usually by Redmond's real salt, and I'll hit it with a sprinkle of that. And then I take cayenne because for anyone who doesn't know this, I grew up in Cajun country. So I hit it with cayenne. And then Anna Vocino has a couple of seasonings, and you could take this a couple of different routes. My favorite route is to put what seems like way too much of her barbecue sauce dust on that. You might go, wait a minute, that's way too much. Trust me, that's what you want.
There's no sugar in it, by the way. All of my spices have no sugar.
No sugar.
No filler, no grains, no preservatives.
Here's the deal. Here's what everyone needs to know. Why did I add extra salt? Because I love salt. Why did I add extra cayenne? Because I like shit that tastes hot.
We need you with the Oprah quote saying, I love salt.
I love bread. Salt. I love salt. So here's the thing. You can do it. I actually do some for Serena where all I put is Anna's seasoning on there. I have experimented with the taco on there, and the taco works fine too. Don't do a big batch of that because it might not be your thing.
I would do dill and barbecue mixed together and do ranch barbecue nuts. That's me. I've
never tried it. You told me about that.
It's really good.
I've
been doing it on chickens. I've been doing it in burgers, putting both of them in burgers.
Anna, it's versatile. Let's talk about ratios and proportions because I'll play with it in small batches.
Oh, I just do half and half. You can't mess it up. You can't mess it up.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
Flavor's so good.
You told me we were having a friendly conversation the other day. You told me that, and I was like, I don't know. This doesn't sound like me. But I know Marie would do it. By the way, if you don't know who Marie is, if you're new to this show,
you're going to find out.
She'll come on at some point. And
Did she get her dill, by the way?
She did. She told me to thank you.
Good.
All right. So Anna, let's move on.
Okay, let's go. We were back in vegetables. I don't want to bypass this. So I just want to, today I went to the store. Here's exactly what's in my veggie tray. And if I wasn't hitched in, I would get up and show you guys. I have 2 onions and 1 red bell pepper. I have a thing of mushrooms. I have a head of broccoli. I just bought some asparagus today too. I have a little gem lettuce because that's what grows around here. That's from the farm stand. I have baby artichokes because that's what's in season and it grows around here. So I will keep these things and kind of just make various things. I make 1 veg on the side. We usually have a meat that's fatty enough to get you full. And if it's not, like the other night, we grilled some chicken breasts because that's what we had in the fridge. I will cut up avocado and serve that on top of it to make sure that we all get a drizzle extra olive oil. Add the fat if you feel like you're not going to get full. Because the whole idea is to eat dinner and to be done. And you're done for the night and you did your dinner and you're not pecking around for a sweet. You're not pecking around for additional snacks or cheese and crackers. You don't want that. So that's an idea of what's it. So we're going to talk about fruit next, but here's the thing. Avocado is a fruit. Cucumber is a fruit. Zucchini squash is a fruit. Eggplant is a nightshade. Tomato is a fruit, but also a nightshade. Stay away from white potatoes. And once in a blue moon, a sweet potato or half a bite If you're really metabolically broken, Vinny's going to tell you stay away from the sweet potato.
Stay away from all potatoes if you're metabolically broken. I want to go back to the most confusing of all vegetables, and it shouldn't be confusing. I mentioned that one of the cruciferous, cauliflower.
Oh, kale. Oh, cauliflower. Yes.
So if
you have a number of applications for cauliflower.
If you're eating cauliflower, and if you go look in Anna's book or books, you'll see where she does cauliflower rice, cauliflower mash, cauliflower this, cauliflower that.
Tots, pizza crust.
There's so much you could do with cauliflower. But you see, big food.
Whole, real cauliflower.
Right. Big food is caught up with this because it could be a little more difficult. There's a few extra steps at home where you got to get all the water out and this and that. And if you follow what Anna tells you to do, you'll get there.
It's labor intensive.
It's a lot. But you'll go, well, what about these things? They got these cauliflower pizza crusts. What about that? If you read the ingredients, you'll realize that cauliflower is the least of all the ingredients. And when you see things like tapioca and all this other stuff, those starches are as bad as any other grain.
So cassava and tapioca, you're going to see a lot on things like the cauliflower crust and any other thing. By the way, remember how there was a keto explosion at the grocery store 2 years ago? Now it's a grain-free explosion at the grocery store.
Right.
Everything is labeled grain-free. And in fact, somebody was in the groups. I didn't see it, but somebody said, somebody's in the groups asking about the cassava flour or the grain-free chips, the grain-free crackers. You guys, don't do it. Just don't do it. If you're at your goal weight and you have the ability to not be addicted to carbs anymore and you could do it, great. But that's not who we're talking to. Let's be honest. Right. I can't do it, you guys. I can't do it because I want to eat a whole bag of them. And guess what happens? I start to put on weight again.
Yeah, look, cassava and all that is just as bad as any other grain. Your liver cannot distinguish the difference. So I just, whenever you see cauliflower this, cauliflower that, these cauliflower egg roll-up things, and it's all there. I'm working on another documentary that's going to bring all of that to light.
Which, by the way, cassava, tapioca, and are technically grain-free, but I see a lot of brown rice flour as well in these cauliflower crusts. I have yet to see one that's literally just cauliflower, like the way you would make it at home, because I don't think it's possible for them to make it sturdy enough. You have to do it at home where you're manipulating the ingredients yourself. So cassava and tapioca are very sticky and gummy. So even though they are made from tubers and they're grain-free, they are taro is another one, taro root. Mm-hmm. They are binders and they're higher in carb, and you're not going to achieve your goals if you stick with if you allow yourself, it's grain free. I'll just have it. Just know if you're doing that, you're not going to reach your goals. I'm sorry, but you're just not.
You mentioned vegetables. Let's go through that really fast.
Fruit. We just.
I'm sorry. Fruit.
Yes, and I've also wanted to mention that olives are also a fruit.
My favorite fruit and fruit juice is olives and olive oil. That's
there you go.
Olive. Every other fruit juice is not good for you. What are the low glycemic fruits? Berries, cherries, olives, avocado. Period.
Cucumber's pretty low glycemic, but who's out there eating cucumbers? It's so boring.
Right. So I just named what you can have. Go on.
Okay, so you talked about nuts. We talked about dairy. Condiments. We get asked all the time because people are addicted to ketchup. And by the way, if you have a bottle of ketchup, imagine your bottle of ketchup, right? Mm-hmm. And then imagine about up to the Heinz label, that's sugar.
Right.
Like up to the name of Heinz is sugar in your bottle of ketchup.
2/3 of it is pure sugar.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
You make a lot of stuff at home. Use things like spices and olive oil, or spices and a good mayo, or make your mayo at home, or read the label. You have to really read labels with mayo. They still have, that's one thing I really want to do, is come out with an Eat Happy Kitchen mayo that's made with a good oil, because it's shocking to me. And by the way, I saw this documentary on how Miracle Whip got made. So there was Hellmann's mayonnaise that was already sweeping the nation, but it wasn't shelf stable. So Miracle Whip figured out a way to take the egg out and put some chemicals in, and that became Miracle Whip, which still is like outsells everything. It's not food, you guys. It's not food. It's not food.
Speaking of which, when you're looking at any of, people might go, well, Vin, you said we can have, fatty foods, right? Well, I have this ranch dressing over here.
Oh, read the labels on that.
Seed oils are an abomination. They should be outlawed, yet it's the most common food source.
What are the seed oils?
Well, they could be anything. It's canola oil, which is actually rapeseed oil, but when rape is in the name, it doesn't work well. Safflower oil, any like mazola, all of the corn oils,
soybean
oil, peanut oil, all of it is crap.
Safflower, cottonseed oil,
all of these are bad. Now you'll go, wait a minute, can I eat chia seeds? And what about sunflower seeds? Absolutely. The seeds are fine. What they have to do to turn it into an oil basically turns it into the equivalent of sewing machine oil or gun oil.
Right.
And if you think I'm kidding, you'll go, come on, Vin, is it really that bad? Yes. The only reason you wouldn't drink sewing machine oil or gun oil is because they add a scent to it to let you know that this oil is meant to
don't accidentally make a cake with it.
Right. But I mean, you'll go, those oils smell like some kind of industrial smell. Just like I always tell people, just like with gas in your house, if you have a gas stove, gas is odorless, right? So they have to add this pungent odor to it. So you go, oh, it smells like gas in the house, right?
To warn you that you're in danger.
They add odor to that gas to warn you that, so you don't die. The same thing with 3M oil or sewing machine oil or gun oil. Each company has their own smell that they add to it. Those oils are exactly, they're seed oils. They're made of, all kinds of
same
crap.
Thing. Yeah. Just has the scent. So by the way, the Italians call the seed oils lampante. You burn it in your lamp, they're lamp oil. You don't eat it. Right. And I just want to say too, the one exception to this too, well, and flax oil can also be an exception. But you wouldn't use flax oil that often. I think some people might take it as a supplement, but other than that, but sesame oil is pressed like olive oil is pressed. And sesame oil has such a strong scent and flavor that you use a tiny bit in a recipe if you're doing like an Asian themed recipe. So just wanted to throw that out there too, because sesame oils, yes, while technically it's a seed oil, it's pressed like an olive oil. So
yeah.
So fruits, condiments. I want to address this with condiments. So if you're new to NSNG, a lot of folks come from the world of wanting to pour all kinds of sauces. You mentioned the ranch. People want to pour barbecue. They want to pour hot sauces. And I don't want to demonize the sauces because we love our sauces. Sauces are, they make life worth living. They make our meals worth eating, right? But you're going to have to start reading the ingredient labels on these things to see what's in there. And I'm not talking about the nutritional panel. I'm talking about read the actual ingredients. There are currently 65 different names for sugar. We've talked about that in multiple episodes. You could just Google it and see what the names are to see what sort of sneakiness is happening. We will probably do another 101 talking about how to read food labels, but I just want to kind of give the broad strokes. Something like barbecue sauce. If you're used to dumping barbecue sauce all over your food, you need to know that that's part of your sugar addiction, because traditional barbecue sauce, as the recipe stands, is a mixture of spices, tomato paste, vinegar, and sugar. That's what a barbecue sauce is at its core. So you have some choices to make. You can either buy a barbecue sauce with artificial sweeteners, and we're going to get to sweeteners right after this. Sweeteners and then beverages, and then I think we're done. Or you make something at home and you use something like with my recipe, you use what's it called? Blueberries and a couple dates to yield a big amount. Or you just try to not have it and try to reset your taste buds. Sometimes that's too big of an ask. I will say when you first start NSNG, this is why my books have a variety of different recipes. There's some recipes that I call the substitute foods, like the pizzas. People want to make a lot of pizzas because they miss having the carbs, right? And I get that. And that's why I've provided options for you. And then eventually you just kind of move over to like, you know what? I'm just making carne asada. I'm just making beef kebabs. I'm just making meatloafs and burgers and things like that. I'm just making the vegetable sides. And I'm able to knock it out really fast because I've learned my way around the kitchen. That's going to be phase 2. If you're new, you're going to really look at the substitute foods. Hey, how do I make these grain-free blueberry muffins? How do I make, and you're going to want to do that. And I get that. And that's what it's there for. And then eventually you're going to move out of that stage. You're just not going to want to do it. And it seems crazy right now. You're like, just steak and broccoli? What? But you are going to get there. You are going to get there. But so just know with condiments, it's a little more complicated than just saying, don't ever have that thing again, because you probably will have that thing again, but know what you're getting into. Read the labels, be aware. You're an adult. You get to choose now. Nobody's pulling. If you're listening to this podcast, you're done having the wool pulled over your eyes. You are now responsible. It's a kind of a good thing. So artificial sweeteners, sweetener substitutes, sugar, and then we'll get to beverages, and then we're done.
Okay. Sugars, we mentioned, by the way, this is a good time to mention to you guys, I have a PDF. It's called the NSNG. It's called the NSNG ebook. We talked about it on Mike Rowe's show this past time ad nauseum.
Debbie's going to kill us that we didn't bring that up at the beginning.
Right. So
I assume people are reading the PDF if they're here listening to this.
Well, maybe or maybe not.
But maybe not.
Go get the PDF. I even, for the first time ever, it's a pop-up on my site. So if you go to my site, there's a pop-up.
Good.
I want you guys to be able to find it very easily.
Can I say, instead of spending $10 on 2 fake olive oil injected Starbucks drinks, spend $10 on Vinnie's PDF. It is the best $10 you will ever spend on your health. I'm telling you, it is so great. He's taken the time to write it out. You basically sign up, right? You sign up, you pay for it, you get it downloaded. You get to read as many times as you want. There are more NSNG 101s that are on this YouTube channel. Debbie wanted me to promote. Sorry, I cut you off. You were going to say something about the PDF.
No, that's all. I turned it into a pop-up so that people can find it. And look, I mean, if you've stayed around till the end of this, that's kind of the crux. Mike Rowe, he downloaded it. Chuck, Klaus Meyer, all these people. It's, all the celebrities I worked with, this was the playbook, and it's easily digestible. It's 24 to 26 pages. I can't remember. And it tells you everything you need to know. All you have, $10, one trip to Starbucks. And, oh, by the way, there is no clickbait. There is no, hey, now if you really want the super duper thing.
Yeah. There's no course. There's no upsell.
There's no upsell. It's just there. As a matter of fact, we gave it away for hundreds of thousands of times for free. And then at some point I said, let me see if people take it more seriously if I put a charge on it. So we did.
Well, also you deserve to make money off of your life's work.
Well, look, and by the way, the money doesn't really come to me. It comes to pay for all of this. There's a lot of people behind the scenes, like my ex internet girlfriend, Leona. And
that was a rough breakup.
Yeah, it was rough. She's learning about it right now.
Are you going to play the Romeo and Juliet song? Because it got to you.
Maybe we'll do a whole thing on Monday. Maybe we should bring her on and break up with her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this just isn't working. You have a husband and all.
Yeah, husband, the kid. Yeah. I don't know.
So reason why I wanted to save sweeteners and beverages for the end is because I feel like sweet stuff and beverages are something we use as rewards. And when you switch to NSNG, you're probably going to make yourself really aware of how many times you've been rewarding yourself with food that might not be good for you. But people are going to want to know, Vinnie, what are you saying? I'm never allowed to have like a birthday cake on my birthday. Am I never allowed to like make cookies for my kid? What are you saying? What can I have for sweet?
If you need to, I tell everyone, give me 30 days to get yourself straight. Right. If you're metabolically broken, like if you're 400 pounds, your doctor's telling you have neuropathy, your doctor's telling you have fatty liver disease, you have sleep apnea, and your A1Cs are 12, give yourself a couple of months to get yourself
I was going to say 60 days, even if you don't have all that stuff.
Yeah, I asked for 30, and Anna goes, screw that. It's 60. Because Anna was pretty well broken when we started this show. The reason this show has always done well is because I'm an expert in one thing and Anna was an expert at something else, and it had nothing to do with fitness. So she was always learning on the fly. And I think that's what the audience liked about this show. But look, you got to get serious about this. You've kind of punched your dance card in life. You got to get serious. Now, later on, once you have a handle on this, your birthday comes around, have some birthday cake. I have a saying. It doesn't matter what you eat between Christmas and New Year's. It only matters what you eat between New Year's and Christmas, right? So you can have holiday times. I have a thing. for anyone who doesn't know, my sister-in-law is Dame Kristen Scott Thomas. And I have a rule. If I'm in the same room with Kristen Scott Thomas, if I'm looking at her, I can have all the wine I want. Right? Because
I would love nothing more than to see Vinnie Tortorich wine drunk.
Yeah, but I never get drunk because I'll drink one glass, but I can have 3 glasses if I want. And people go, wait, why that? It's like, because I see the woman like once a year.
Yeah.
Right. And she's wealthy and she's got some really good wine.
I want to suck off that wine teat.
Yeah. I want that Kristen wine teat.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So if I'm looking at Kristen and she's serving up some really nice wines, I'm going to enjoy myself because that's my life into living moment, right? If I'm in Italy and everyone else is enjoying a gelato, I'm gonna join in, right? That's the way I like to roll.
But so you're saying you're not making a cake on a Wednesday because you're craving something sweet,
right? I just don't even think about it until it's like something coming up. I'll give you an example. We were out at dinner with the couple from down the street the other night, and dessert came, and she ordered some kind of bread pudding or something, and they brought 4 spoons out. And the third time, a woman says, "Give it a try." Nobody wants to sit there and eat it by themselves because they look like a pig. Oh, come on, you must try. So I took a little corner off and ate it. Of course, I was drinking a coffee at the time, so it helps cut that sugar thing, and I forget about it immediately, and I was fine.
So you didn't dive in head first.
No, I took one bite and, oh my God, this is delicious. And as a matter of fact, for the first time in my life, I had a piece of bread pudding that sucked. It was actually horrible. Like it was.
Oh, well, that's another thing that happens that people don't believe me. Here's the thing. You'll hear all of this and you'll be like, yeah, I'm not going to have it. And then you'll go to the thing and you'll be like, yeah, I'll get the ice cream. And you get the ice cream and it's not good ice cream. And your palate has reset itself and you will not tolerate the good ice cream. You'll be like, oh, well, that's $5 down the drain. I'm not eating it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. And that's okay. That's part of the journey. That'll feel really good. So hold on. I just have to give a little correction with my origin story. I was not metabolically broken. I have autoimmune and, but I've never had an issue with any metabolic symptoms or syndromes. Just want to say that. Thanks for knowing my origin story though, Vinnie, after 11 years.
I don't listen when you talk.
I know you don't. And this proves that I have proof.
You're like Serena. It's like Serena talks and I'm like, oh yeah, do that. Yeah. And then I come home and like,
do that.
The whole room is painted and we have new furniture. I'm like, what did you spend money on? I said, you told me to go do it.
I told you. You said do it.
What did this cost me from not listening?
So I know we said there's 65 different kinds of sugar and people get really sneaky, that manufacturers get really sneaky with how they label it on the food. But some of the really popular ones right now are the allulose that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. The monk fruit mixed with erythritol is one. Monk fruit mixed with stevia on its own. Now, stevia and monk fruit are natural sweeteners because they actually come from a plant and a fruit.
Sugar is also a natural sweetener.
Sugar's a natural sweetener, but then the artificial sweeteners are a different category. And I just want to be really clear because people love to write, well, Anna, you called it all artificial, but stevia is natural, so it's good for you. I'm like, okay, whatever you want to believe, go for it. But for me, I don't like stevia because I don't like the taste of something sweet that's filtered through dirty socks. If you like that flavor, have at it. I don't like it. So I think that also too, the intestinal distress that comes from some of these artificial sweeteners, whether they're trying to tamper them down with some natural sweeteners mixed in, like monk fruit mixed with erythritol. If you're trying to have something on a weeknight and there's no real special occasion, you're just rooting around that kitchen going, oh, I need something. And I've already eaten the whole 85% cacao chocolate. I need something else. Something's going on, right? Yeah. Wouldn't you say that, Vin? That something deeper is happening.
And when people start talking about all natural, I always remind them that cocaine is natural. So it's uranium, spent uranium, and plutonium.
So if you have cocaine, you certainly will not eat cake.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Look, the bottom line is there's a lot of natural things that you don't put in your body. Right?
Yeah.
So there you have it.
Well, hold on real quick, because you talked about coffee. We do want to address beverages because people love to stop for their energy drink. They love to get the bottled, what is it called? The cans of the cold brew that have the Schlitz in them. The people love the soda pops, the LaCroix, the real soda pops, and then the LaCroix that aren't a real soda pop, but has Lord knows what in it. Where do you stand on beverages? What beverages are NSNG?
Water, coffee, tea. The end.
Okay, great.
And by the way, all very
Great
healthy
show, Vin.
for you. We need water. We need to be well hydrated. Coffee. I know that people go, well, my doctor told me it was bad. High blood pressure. None of that has ever been proven to be true. Coffee is probably the healthiest thing you could drink next to water. The American Heart Association has said for every cup of coffee you drink, you have a 10% less chance of having a heart attack. So if you drink 3 cups a day, it's a 30% less chance. I'm not making this stuff up. Coffee is a great ergogenic, meaning it helps in athletic endeavors. It lessens the perceived effort when you're doing aerobics or anaerobics. Tea works very close to the same as coffee. So you can have tea. The biggest problem you're going to have with both. Oh, and by the way, full disclosure, I own a coffee company, purecoffeeclub.com, but I'm not trying to sell you coffee, and nor do I think you have to have coffee to be healthy. Folks, the reason I'm able to do this with complete autonomy is because I make my money somewhere else. I own a vitamin company. No, you do not have to take any of my products to be healthy. If you're interested, that company is called purevitaminclub.com. The aforementioned purecoffeeclub.com and nsngfoods.com, which sells the ultra-fat. You do not have to take any of my products to be healthy. That's why I can sit here and talk about all this stuff with autonomy. I don't have to sell you anything. I'm just telling you the truth. Most people have something to sell you. I'm more than happy if people want to use my vitamins or use my coffee or my foods. That's fine. But I'm not telling you you have to have any of it to be healthy whatsoever. I stand by that. Anna and I will be back next Monday, where it's going to be a bit of a 101 for exercise. So we're going to do a little exercise 101. We talked a lot about food today on this Friday. So tune in 2 days, and Anna and I will be back on Monday with kind of a 101 exercise version of this, because let's face it, my degree is in exercise physiology, so I might know a thing or two. You might want to check that out. Speaking of Anna, she's got some great products. You want to go to Eat Happy Kitchen, and you can see the powders. I was talking about the powders during the show. She's got the barbecue powder. She's got the dill powder, which is my mom's favorite. And she also has the taco seasoning powder, which the other night I do taco bowls, where
that's what we do all the time.
The world's best taco. We chop up the tomatoes, and we got the onion, and Serena makes the guacamole from scratch, and we got the whole thing. And
hell yeah.
Oh my God.
And by the way, you can do it dairy free. I don't put cheese or sour cream on mine. I do what he's talking about. I put the cilantro, the onion, the homemade guac. I put on the pickled jalapeno. Ooh.
Yeah, we go to town on it. I cut my jalapenos fresh. I don't put pickled jalapenos. I like them pickled. And
I pickle my own.
Oh, look at you, tough guy. So go check out everything Anna Vocino is doing. She has 2 books out there, Eat Happy and Eat Happy 2. So you can go check those out, and go check out Eat Happy Kitchen.
On all of my new recipes for the past year and a half, 90% of them are free, are appearing at annavocino.substack.com. That is a newsletter platform called Substack.
Yeah. And for me, if you I mentioned my companies, but you can go to vinnietortorich.com, get the free NSNG, not free, it's a $10 charge for the NSNG PDF. They call it the NSNG ebook.
The NSNG ebook is the best $10 you will spend.
Yeah. So go check it out. Folks, we all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, please go to vinnietortorich.com, click through the banner. It puts a little coal on the fire, and it gets my train down the track. So please go and do that. Go rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts and what have you. Also, you can review the NSNG ebook if you'd like. All of it can be reviewed, folks. Go review everything.